Remember the warm crackle of vinyl in 1971? We played those records until the grooves wore flat. But time has a strange way of burying the truth. Today we expose the dark secrets behind our youth. We will uncover a quiet acoustic tune that triggered a nationwide panic, an explosive stadium hit masking a horrifying story, and the happiest pop song of the year hiding a 37-trip rehab nightmare. So turn up the dial. Today we are counting down 10 unforgettable rock songs from 1971 you forgot you loved. Number 10, Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Do you remember those quiet 1970s nights? Sitting alone in your room with only the glowing dial of an AM radio cutting through the dark? You would dial the local station, begging the DJ to play that 8-minute song. That shared teenage ritual is exactly how this track reached nearly 3 million radio plays. But here is the bizarre truth. You could not just buy it. Atlantic Records begged for a commercial single in 1971, but Jimmy Page firmly locked the door. He refused to play the corporate game. The magic actually started far away, in a freezing Welsh cottage. Robert Plant wrote those haunting words, by a crackling fire, finding the soul of the song in almost a single breath. In the studio, they built a mountain of sound, moving from delicate acoustics to a massive electric explosion. Page even had to play a gigantic 12-string double-neck guitar just to keep the music alive on stage. Because fans could not buy a single, they did the unthinkable. Millions of kids saved their allowance to buy the entire fourth album just for this piece. Looking back, this was not just a track. It was the soundtrack of our youth. It gave us comfort during our first heartbreaks, and for so many of us, it played softly during the final goodbyes to the people we loved the most. Led Zeppelin gave us a masterpiece that forced a chaotic world to slow down, achieving absolute immortality without ever following the rules. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from today. It's always a joy to see music lovers from around the world, brought together by the songs of 1971. Number 9, American Pie by Don McLean.
But I knew I was out of luck.
Picture a freezing New York morning in 1959. A young paperboy slices the heavy twine off a stack of newspapers. The sharp smell of fresh ink hits the cold air. He looks down at the front page, and his heart shatters. The music died that day with Buddy Holly, but that silent, personal grief planted the seed for an 8-minute masterpiece.
Now for 10 years we've been on our own.
For years, Don McLean carried that heavy sadness. When he finally walked into the studio, he just wanted to record it alone with his acoustic guitar. But his producer pulled a brilliant trick. He brought in session players who were incredibly gifted, but completely unknown. He knew famous rock stars would just intimidate McLean. Together, they captured the magic in one raw, emotional take at the record plant.
Singing bye, bye, Miss American Pie.
Truth be told, radio stations hated it at first. They had a strict 3-minute rule, and critics turned their noses up. But everyday folks like us heard our own lost youth in that chorus. We jammed the phone lines until it hit number 1 in early 1972. People still argue over what every single line means. But honestly, it is not a puzzle. It is a tearful goodbye to a simpler time, proving that even when the music stops, the memories refuse to fade.
We all got up to dance.
Number 8, Imagine by John Lennon.
Living for today.
One single piano chord can sometimes shake the entire world. In early 1971, America was deeply wounded and divided. The Vietnam War was tearing families apart, and society was questioning everything, even asking if God was dead. Right in the middle of this heavy cultural storm, John Lennon sat down at a white Steinway piano in his bedroom, with Yoko Ono sitting quietly beside him.
Nothing to kill or die for.
He drew inspiration from her old poetry book, and within a single morning, he crafted what sounded like a gentle lullaby. But make no mistake, beneath that sweet melody was a highly polarizing message. It was a quiet rebellion, wrapped in velvet. Down in his private Ascot Sound studios, they did not overthink it. Producer Phil Spector kept the room relaxed, and they captured the final magic on just the second take.
You may say I'm a dreamer.
When the record dropped, the backlash was fierce. Religious groups and conservative stations were furious, banning the track because it asked us to picture a world without heaven or borders. Yet, everyday folks, desperate for peace, pushed it straight to number 3 on the charts. Truth be told, the critics who fought it completely missed the point. Today, whenever our world faces a tragedy, this is the song we all turn to. Lennon left us a fragile dream, a comforting prayer that still holds our hands through the darkest of times.
I hope someday you'll join.
Number 7, Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones.
Brown sugar, just like a young girl should.
Sometimes, the most infectious groove in rock history hides a truth we would rather ignore. Back in 1971, you could not walk into a room without hearing this massive riff. We all danced to the number 1 hit, but honestly, few of us really listened to the words. Mick Jagger wrote those lyrics in just 45 minutes, frantically scribbling on a notepad while filming a movie in 1969. It was a reckless stream of consciousness. They took it down to a studio in Alabama to capture a gritty, raw sound. Keith Richards delivered those legendary opening chords, creating a rhythm you feel deep in your bones. But the lyrics paint a dark picture of slavery. By 1995, Jagger confessed he had no idea what he was thinking, admitting he threw every sensitive taboo into one pot. He even said he would censor himself today. Keith defends it as a stark reflection of history, but the tension is undeniable.
I bet your mama was the tent-show queen.
Here is the ultimate proof of how time changes us. For 50 years, this explosive track opened almost every Rolling Stones show until 2021, when they quietly retired it from their stage forever. It remains a powerful piece of our wild youth, a song that defined the 70s, yet serves as a stark mirror, showing us exactly how much the world has moved on. Number 6. A Horse with No Name by America.
I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky.
Feel the blistering heat of a desert highway, the car windows rolled down, and the static of an AM radio cutting through the dry wind. In early 1972, this simple acoustic melody became the ultimate soundtrack for anyone looking to escape. But here is the wild twist. This quiet song almost caused a nationwide panic. You see, conservative radio stations across the country started pulling it off the air. They were absolutely convinced that the word horse was a secret street slang for heroin. The truth? It was written by a homesick young man named Dewey Bunnell, sitting in a cold, rainy cottage in England. He was simply missing the deserts of his childhood in the United States, playing around with a strange tuning on his guitar. He found a weird 3-chord progression, just moving 2 fingers back and forth. That was it. No hidden drug messages, just pure nostalgia for the sun.
See, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name.
Despite the heavy censorship, teenagers did not care. The controversy only fueled the fire, pushing this bizarre little tune all the way to number 1, ironically knocking Neil Young right off the top spot. Looking back today, it is funny how a harmless song frightened so many adults. For us, it was never about rebellion. It was a peaceful 3-minute vacation from a confusing world, a quiet reminder that sometimes getting lost in the middle of nowhere is exactly how you find yourself. If you're still on this musical road with us, leave a 6 in the comments. It lets me know there are still true classic rock fans making this journey together. Number 5. Baba O'Reilly by The Who. For over 50 years, millions of us have been shouting the wrong name to one of the greatest rock anthems ever recorded. We all called it Teenage Wasteland, but the real story behind this track is much stranger and far deeper than a simple rebellious chant. Back in 1971, Pete Townshend was trying to do something that sounded like pure science fiction. He wanted to feed the personality traits of his spiritual guru, Meher Baba, directly into a synthesizer, hoping the machine would translate a human soul into music. When that wild experiment failed, he sat down at his organ and manually played that dizzying, mesmerizing opening loop himself. But the words came from a place of deep sadness. Townshend wrote it after standing in the muddy fields of the Isle of Wight festival, looking at the mountains of garbage and the exhausted, burnt-out kids left behind. To him, it was a literal teenage wasteland. Yet, in a twist of beautiful irony, everyday fans turned his dark warning into an upbeat, stadium-shaking celebration of youth. And we have to thank the chaotic genius of drummer Keith Moon, who randomly invited a violin player from the studio next door to create that wild, foot-stomping finale. Even though it was never released as an official single in the United States, it became the beating heart of their legendary 1971 album. Looking back today, it is a beautiful accident. A song born from spiritual frustration somehow became the ultimate battle cry of our youth, proving that once music leaves the studio, it belongs entirely to the memories we attach to it. Number 4. Maggie May by Rod Stewart. Do you know who played the most famous mandolin solo of 1971? Even Rod Stewart pretended he could not remember. When they recorded this track, the studio session was wonderfully chaotic. Drummer Mickey Waller forgot his full kit and had to beat a bass drum with bare drumsticks. And that beautiful, unforgettable mandolin melody. It was completely improvised on the spot by a musician named Ray Jackson. He was paid a measly £15, and Stewart jokingly wrote on the album cover, "The mandolin player whose name slips my mind." Mercury Records had absolutely no faith in the track. They felt a deeply personal story about a young boy growing up too fast was simply not catchy enough, so they buried it on the B-side of another single. But here is where the pure magic of 70s radio changed history. Rebel DJs across America decided to flip the vinyl record over. They played the forgotten side, and the station phones instantly lit up. It shot straight to number 1 in both the United States and the United Kingdom. Today, hearing that raspy voice takes us right back to our own awkward, beautiful teenage years. It proves a comforting truth. Sometimes, the exact things the corporate experts try to throw away are exactly what everyday people will cherish forever. Number 3, Life on Mars by David Bowie. Nothing fuels a masterpiece quite like a broken ego. Back in 1968, an unknown David Bowie was hired to write English lyrics for a French melody. His version was rejected because he was a nobody. Soon after, Paul Anka bought those rights and turned it into My Way for Frank Sinatra. For a whole year, Bowie carried that bitter rejection. Instead of giving up, he decided to write his own massive anthem, just to get even. He took the chord structure of My Way, twisted it around, and built something otherworldly. In 1971, Rick Wakeman played that grand cabaret piano, while Mick Ronson layered on those tragic strings. When the record dropped, Bowie cheekily wrote on the cover that it was inspired by Frankie. It was his ultimate revenge. But underneath that spite was a deeply moving story about a lonely girl trying to escape a boring reality through the silver screen. It took until 1973 for the label to push it to number 3 in the UK. Today, listening to that soaring chorus brings a tear to the eye. It teaches us a beautiful lesson. Sometimes, the doors slammed in our faces are exactly what force us to build our own universe. To my mother, my darling clouds. Number 2, What Is Life by George Harrison. How do you write the most joyful song of the decade while the industry is trying to destroy you? In 1969, George took a short drive to the studio, and within 15 minutes, this incredibly uplifting melody just poured out of him. He originally planned to give it away to Billy Preston, but quickly realized he needed this bright energy for his own soul. Down at Abbey Road, he gathered legends like Eric Clapton and a massive brass horn section. Together, they built a driving rhythm that makes you feel completely invincible. But fast forward to February 1971. Just as he released this wall of pure optimism to the world, he was dragged into a soul-crushing plagiarism lawsuit over another track. For a man desperately seeking spiritual peace after leaving the biggest band on earth, it was a devastating blow. He was eventually forced to pay nearly $1.6 million in court. But the beautiful truth that brings a tear to the eye is, George never grew bitter. Years later, he confessed he had absolutely no regrets. He firmly believed his music had saved the lives of young folks searching for faith in a dark world. What Is Life remains an unforgettable triumph, a gentle reminder that true artistic light can never be killed by corporate greed. Number 1, Joy to the World by Three Dog Night. Picture a half-empty wine bottle resting on a studio speaker. A songwriter named Hoyt Axton casually blurts out a nonsense line about a bullfrog just to fill a blank space in his melody. He fully intended to change it later, but fate had a completely different plan. Back in 1971, Three Dog Night almost threw this track in the trash. The band members thought it was a goofy, childish cartoon tune, but lead singer Chuck Negron begged them to record it, hoping a silly song would heal the growing tension inside the group. They kept the bullfrog line, and the record exploded, becoming the absolute biggest pop hit of the entire year, sitting safely at number 1 for 6 solid weeks. But behind that upbeat, stadium-shaking joy, a heartbreaking tragedy was silently unfolding. The man singing those incredibly happy words, Chuck Negron, was secretly falling into a dark abyss. He spent the next few decades battling a severe heroin addiction, losing his home, ending up on Skid Row, and enduring 37 trips to rehab before finally finding his way back to the light. Looking back today, this grand finale is more than just a fun 70s memory. It is a profound lesson in human endurance. Sometimes, the people who give the world its biggest smiles are fighting the hardest battles behind closed doors. Chuck Negron gave us pure joy when he had none left for himself, and for that, we will always be grateful. From the haunting echoes of that stairway to heaven, to the lonely desert road of a horse with no name, and the heartbreaking joy of Jeremiah the bullfrog, we have traveled through a year that changed music forever. These songs were never just background noise. They were the mirrors of our youth, reflecting our wildest dreams and our deepest sorrows. They remain timeless, not because of their fame, but because they still hold the pieces of our hearts. If you enjoyed stepping back in time with us, keep this time machine running by hitting subscribe. And tell me, which 1971 anthem was playing when you first fell in love?
I'm a dreamer.